You hate Euston Station, don't you? You hate it. You hate it, your cats hate it. Every month there's a new video on YouTube or TikTok or whatever about how awful Euston Station is and how it used to be better. They'll show you this old photo where it looks beautiful, and then they'll show you a modern bit of footage where it's crowded and ugly, and suddenly you're hopping mad that you are being subjected to this vile, degraded bit of transport infrastructure. You see, London Euston was rebuilt from 1962 to 1968, and in place of the old Victorian station there emerged a new, modernist, international style building supposed to be fit for the space age. Nowadays, in the mid-2020s, it's looking a bit old, and it's developed some problems. Mainly that it's just really busy. So I don't mind that you've got videos saying that you don't like the station, but what kind of tickles me is how almost all of them get onto every casual transport nerd's favourite bit of nostalgia porn, the destruction of the Doric arch. Which sounds really dramatic. It's like a chapter from The Lord of the Rings or something. Now, I don't hate Euston Station as much as the internet tells me I ought to, but what I really don't like is the nonsense that you're being sold about that arch. So I'm going to tell you about it, but to get there, we've got to go back to 1837. Charles Dickens has just released Oliver Twist, Queen Victoria has just ascended to the throne, and London Euston Station opens for the first time. The Doric Arch was the grand entrance to the Euston railway station complex. It was built with the London and Birmingham Railway, and it was designed in part to complement the architecture of the station that was at the other end of the line, Curzon Street in Birmingham. That one, which also has lots of columns, is weirdly though covered in Ionic columns, not Doric ones, which I find kind of annoying. And in a bizarre twist of fate, whilst the Doric arch is gone, Curzon Street, which hasn't seen a single passenger in 150 years, is still there. It's just chilling on the edge of Birmingham city centre. And another bizarre twist of fate, Curzon Street's coming back, and they're going to use it as the end of the Birmingham HS2 railway terminus. So you're going to be able to see it again, or more likely your great-grandchildren will. So, the Doric arch. Well, Can we pause for a second again? It's not an arch, is it? Have you noticed? Like, draw out in front of you right now. Just imagine, what does an arch look like? Like, draw it. It's like that, isn't it? That's an arch. And now look at this. That's not an arch. Apparently, that's called a propylaeum. It's a Greek term. It's a Greek columned entrance building, basically, a propylaeum. So the first thing is that it's not actually an arch. To be honest with you, for the rest of the video though, I may as well just keep calling it one. It's catchier. And you know, isn't it sometimes easier just to be part of the problem? So, the Doric arch sits there at the entrance to Euston, and some of the pictures make it look really cool. Yeah, I'm into it. A big classical Greek behemoth. Who wouldn't love it? Well, some people didn't love it. There was a lot of criticism in the press when it was built. Some people called it absurd. Pugin, who designed a lot of the Houses of Parliament, called it a Brobdingnagian absurdity. A Brobdingnagian... I don't think that requires any additional explanation. But I think it made sense. It was a big entranceway that you would drive through, and it would lead you onto a road that ran alongside the passenger platforms. It was a grand statement, right? It was a big Victorian welcome to the Midlands, welcome to the North. In the 1960s though, when they're rebuilding Euston, it's put up for demolition. And that wasn't without controversy. By this point, it's a little bit more beloved than it was when it was originally built, and it went up as high as the Conservative Prime Minister of the time, Harold Macmillan. So if it's controversial, then why put it up for demolition? Well, mainly because it's not a big grand statement anymore. The arch, which, by the way, you drive through it, like it's not a romantic, picturesque stroll through the Roman Forum. You drive through it and it leads to a small car forecourt. The entrance to the station itself no longer lines up with the arch because it's been rebuilt several times. And the arch is now flanked with lots of kiosks and lean-to buildings. It's asymmetrical. It's ugly. It's also not at the end of a big grand boulevard anymore. It now just faces out onto the back of a hotel. Like, look at this picture. You can't even see it anymore. It's just vanished into the milieu of buildings that surround it. And let's be honest, how did you last get to a station when you went there? Did you walk through the grand entranceway pavilion and onto the platforms? No, you got the tube. You probably walked out into the station building itself. Ideally, if you could get from your house to the platform without looking up from the thing you were scrolling from, you'd probably be much, much happier. People don't want it anymore. This wasn't some grand entranceway being marvelled at by tens of thousands of Londoners every day. It was simply in the way. The Transport Minister, Ernest Marples, is the man who finally put pen to paper and signed for the destruction of the Doric Arch. He said that despite the public asking him to do so, it was colossally and ultimately too expensive to move the arch somewhere else, as well as there not really being a particularly obvious place to put it, which does make sense. If we can't move the arch though, can we reconstruct Euston Station around it? Also no. Ultimately, Euston's got to move. We've got to shove it in one direction because the platforms are nowhere near long enough. You think about it today, we put 11 and 12 carriage trains there, which is a really long length of platform, and we can't move it in the opposite direction because that's where London is. The station apron and the roads and streets and buildings and houses are all in the way. We've got to move it this way and the arch is in the way. It would be nice to look at it in this newly reconstructed Euston Plaza or whatever, but actually it's just obstructing us running a practical modern railway station. But I can still hear some of you screaming at YouTube from all the way over here. Andrew, that's not a very creative solution. And anyway, I know that the buses and taxis still use an entrance at Euston. Why couldn't they just have left the arch there? A lot of videos that talk about the Doric Arch will stand here next to these two entrance lodges, which are really the only bits of architecture still left from the Victorian Euston railway station. They're now pubs, by the way, which you've got to admit is a pretty good idea. But they'll stand here and they'll point to these lodges and they'll gesticulate and they will imply that this is where the Doric Arch was. Why couldn't it just be here today? But that's not true. It was actually 3 streets away. There were multiple blocks of buildings in between here and the Doric Arch. So it wasn't here, and it wasn't here in the modern courtyard. It wasn't even in here, inside the ticket hall. It was like here, like in the middle of the platforms. That's where your arch was. So it wasn't even a choice. It was something we had to do in order to build a functionally usable station. The notion that the Doric Arch was ever going to survive is absurd. So back in the mid-2020s now, it's kind of weird to me that we would feel sad that this thing doesn't exist anymore. And actually there's even been these fanciful little rumours that with the HS2 construction at Euston, the Doric Arch could come back, we could build it again. No. Like, what planet are you living on, honey? We can't even afford to build the number of platforms at Euston that we originally wanted to build. It was almost going to happen that we weren't even going to build Euston HS2. Never mind building a Greek temple outside of it, willy-nilly. This is modern Britain. You've got to pick. It's either keeping your gran alive by the NHS or the Doric Arch. That's the 2 choices. You get to pick. I'll wait. Comment below. So why am I telling you all this from what is clearly East London? Like, is this not the most East London looking place you've ever seen? I'm standing here next to the Prescott Channel. The Prescott Channel connects to the River Lee, and for a bit of context, we're just down from the ABBA Arena. That's just over there, where right now 1,000 people are applauding some TV screens. That is where the original Big Brother house was, if you're old enough to remember that. And then on my left is 3 Mills Studio, which is a film and TV studio, where for several years they filmed MasterChef, for example. MasterChef has just moved to Birmingham, where it's now being filmed just next to Curzon Street Station. So there's a connection for you, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because beneath the rippling waters of the Prescott Channel lies the remains of the Doric Arch. It was sold when it was being demolished to some builders that were doing some work here where it filled a hole or something, and there it remains to this very day, under the icy East London waters, like the lost city of Atlantis, if it was a bit of a railway station. Don't feel sad about it. It was impractical, it was in the way, it wasn't even that good in the end, and ultimately it's not coming back. Don't feel nostalgic or sad about something you never even saw or were close to seeing. It doesn't make any sense. It's a good story, but the Doric arch is gone, and that's fine. Thank you for watching. See you later.